operating in 1972, was torn down in 1974. It had a disproportionate number of lesbian and transmasculine men, incarcerated women for actions and behaviors we wouldn't consider a crime today, and played a surprising role in the gay rights movement. Hugh Ryan is also the author of a book about the gay history of Brooklyn called When Brooklyn Was Queer. What was gay life like inside the women's prison? You know, a lot of the women are arrested for gender nonconforming behavior, which wasn't called that, of course, when they were arrested, but that was the gist of why many of them were in prison. Many of them were in prison for being sex workers. So for the women who were lesbians or started acting out that behavior that they felt they couldn't act on when they were outside of the prison, how capable were you in the prison of actually having a relationship?
It depended on what you were there for, how long you were there for, and the time period you were there for. But at almost every time throughout the prison's history, the women and trans men that I can find say that it was the place where they met their lovers, where they had sex for the first time with another woman often, where they made relationships that were crucial to them. There are all of these strange ways that they found to make what was a terrible, cruel, violent, dangerous, lockdown place a haven for themselves in certain ways. I don't want to overplay it and say that the prison was this like great, amazing, utopian space, but these women and trans men found what joy and love they could. They did all of these creative things, like you could only have two kinds of jewelry in the prison, a Christian cross or a Jewish Star of David. In the 1960s, a social worker comes in and she's studying what she calls the play family, which really means lesbian relationships and the sort of extended familial structures that they built inside prisons, both the House of D and other ones around New York. And while she's studying these women, she at first thinks there is an unusually high number of black Jewish women in the prison before she starts talking to them and discovers that the Jewish Star of David is a highly prized bit of jewelry for femme lesbians in the prison, particularly ones who aren't Jewish. And what she's actually seeing are all of these black women who are wearing...
The early and latter rain as before. The threshing floors will be full of grain, and the vats will overflow with new wine and oil. Then I will make up to you for the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the creeping locust, the stripping locust, and the gnawing locust, my great army which I sent among you. You shall have plenty to eat and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, who has dealt wondrously with you. Then my people will never be put to shame.
This is Insight for Living. For resources designed to help you dig deeper into today's topic, go to insight.org. And now let's continue Chuck Swindoll's message titled, It's Time to Restore the Years.
Let's pretend that Rip Van Winkle was a Christian. And he really did love the Lord, and he really did attend faithfully the house of worship, and year after year found himself encouraged and strengthened by the things that were preached and taught. His walk with Christ was deep and his prayer life devoted and consistent. And then for some strange reason, he fell asleep. And he slept, and he slept. 30, 40 years. And then one day he awoke and stretched himself and looked around and realized, of course, 3-4 decades had passed and so much had changed, but he never dreamed that his church would have changed. And as he attends this strange arrangement of what is now called another kind of church, another way of doing church, he found his soul hungry.
450 feet.
I thought this time would be different somehow. She tried to get into my head. Couldn't you just stop giving into
pages, but he never said that the gates of hell would not attack it, or that the gates of hell would not do their best to silence the messengers of the church.
You might